Hello, everyone. This channel is about real stories. Enjoy listening.
The inheritance. There were 56 chairs set out for the funeral. I counted them while everyone else cried. Karina had chosen silver-trimmed folding chairs because they photographed better, but only 55 were filled. The empty one was beside Hertha. One meant for me. She told the usher not to seat me there. It would make things complicated. Complicated like grieving her father, while secretly texting divorce lawyers, wasn't already complicated. So I stood at the back, beside a ficus and a woman who once dated her uncle in the 90s. The program spelled my name wrong. Karina spoke at the podium about Glenn Darbiel Titan, her father, the man who once told me I smelled like drywall. She didn't mention me. Not in thanks, not in condolences, not even in the list of survivors. When she returned to her seat, she leaned in to whisper to the man sitting in my chair. He laughed. I didn't know who he was. I didn't care, because what happened next was worse. On the way out, Karina dropped her silk handkerchief in front of me. When I bent to pick it up, I saw the folded corner of a document in her clutch. My name was there, bold, next to a case number. She had filed for divorce before the funeral, before the flowers had even wilted. 2 days later, she inherited $250 million. And 2 days after that, she handed me a white envelope. Wendell, she said, I'm choosing myself. But the Glenn's will had other plans. The reading. I spent the night before the will reading on a pull-out couch in my cousin's basement, listening to the pipes rattle. I almost didn't go. Karina had already taken everything. The marriage, my dignity, the right to sit beside her at her father's funeral. The estate was a fortress on a private hill. I was sent through a side door, the one for caterers. Inside the study, the family gathered. Karina wore slate gray. This time, morning, period, complete. Beside her sat the same man from the funeral, polished loafers gleaming. No one greeted me. I sat in the farthest corner. The lawyer began reading. Assets, Rhode Island property, Paris apartment, vehicles, art. Each item belonged to a life far removed from mine. Then came distribution. To my daughter, Karina Elise Darby, I leave the sum of $1 million. She blinked. Did you mean 100 million? The lawyer adjusted his glasses. No, 1 million. The remainder will be transferred to another beneficiary. He opened a sealed envelope. Glenn's letter was blunt. Karina, you stopped visiting unless there was a camera. You brought that man into my home. You loved your inheritance more than your father, so my fortune will not be your reward. To the man who married my daughter, despite knowing she would despise him. To the man who tolerated my cruelty with dignity, and who stayed even when he should have left Wendell Carr, I leave the remainder of my estate. Time froze. I couldn't breathe. Karina stared at me like I'd grown antlers. The man in loafers shot up from his seat. I left before they finished. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the one being left behind. The clause. I didn't want the money. I wanted my marriage, my cat, my Sunday mornings back. But Glenn had left me $250 million, and Karina wasn't going to let that go easily. The very next day she was waiting at my work. Same BMW, same perfume, same smile she used on clerks when she wanted to waive a return policy. She cornered me. You don't deserve this, Wendell, she said. This wasn't supposed to happen. He was punishing me. You're just a symbol. A mistake that lasted too long. Then she pulled out a folder. A revised proposal. Division of assets. Be realistic. You'll get eaten alive. Walk away with dignity before you embarrass both of us. For a moment, I almost believed her. But Glenn had left more than money. At the lawyer's office, I discovered an addendum. 40% of the estate was locked in trust under one condition. I must remain divorced from Karina for 18 consecutive months. If I reconciled, I forfeited it all to a dog sanctuary. Attached was a note in Glenn's handwriting. if you're tempted to return to the cage, remember, you were never the pet. She only knew how to feed you. Don't let her leash you again. It was cruel. It was brilliant. And it made everything clear. The secrets. Soon after, an anonymous note appeared in my mailbox. There are things you don't know, Wendell. Be careful who you trust with Glenn's secrets. I thought it was Karina's game, but the tone wasn't hers. Digging through Glenn's correspondence, I found emails. Karina had requested the destruction of Addendum C, disqualification clause. The trustees refused. She had known. She had tried to erase it. Every smile, every softened word, every photo she dropped at my door was damage control. Then I found the video. Security footage from Glenn's library. Karina pacing, shouting, "He's weak, Dad. He doesn't belong in this world. This is humiliating." Glenn replied, "You left him before I was even gone. I lived long enough to rewrite the will. You thought you could outsmart me. But Wendell never asked me for anything. He never took a dime, even when I tried to push him away. It's not about love," Karina hissed. "It's about punishment." "No," Glenn said. "It's about protection." The video ended. I sat there shaking. I still wanted to believe she had loved me once. But she hadn't lost me, she had discarded me. And then came the final letter. Glenn suspected she had tried to poison him. Tea she gave him on their last retreat. He had no proof, only instinct. But the security logs showed she entered his private quarters 7 times between midnight and 4 a.m. Guests were never allowed there. It wasn't proof, but it was enough. The confrontation. I called her. I found the footage, I said, and the letter, and the logs. Silence. Then, flatly, "You're not supposed to have that. No. Just like you weren't supposed to be in his room 7 times after midnight." Pause. Then her voice, low, dangerous. "What do you want?" For the first time, she didn't deny it. "Nothing," I said. "I want nothing from you. No money, no silence, no protection. You'll spend the next year wondering if I'll go to the police. Every doorbell will feel like it's for you." Her voice cracked. "Wendell," I hung up. The fall, I moved carefully. Hired Glenn's old investigator. He found the trail, receipts, transfers, the wellness powders she'd bought up. Same ones Glenn stopped drinking after vomiting. The estate attorneys took it from there. It didn't go to criminal court, but to civil. Accusations of tampering, attempted document destruction, will interference. Karina walked into court expecting to challenge the clause. She walked out with nothing. The judge froze her remaining stake and redirected it to charities Glenn had named. She appealed twice, lost both. The Darby Empire had spoken. The aftermath. I didn't buy a yacht, didn't move to Paris. I rented a modest place by a lake. I adopted 2 senior rescue dogs from Captain Pickle's sanctuary, the very place Glenn's clause had named. I learned to pay estate taxes, to breathe without checking my phone at 2 a.m., to trust again, slowly. Sometimes I missed her, not the real Karina, but the ghost of who I thought she was. But missing a ghost isn't the same as wanting it back. One day I got a letter, handwritten, no return address. "You ruined everything." I let the dogs chew it up. Because she was wrong. I didn't ruin everything. I saved what was left of me, and that was worth more than $250 million.